Mauna Kea o pua ik Mauna Kea o Kea ke kane o papa o alin ukawahine hanau hoku he wahine hanau halo he ali hanau ka Mauna he ki Mauna na Kea eu e ka Mauna Kea. This genealogical chant tells of the birthing of Mauna Kea, the child mountain of Wakea, the expansive sky, and Papahana Moku, she who gives birth to islands. This is Mauna Kea, the tallest mountain in Hawaii and the world's best place for astronomical observation. There are already 13 telescopes on her summit. In 2009, the 30-meter telescope was proposed for Mauna Kea. If built today, it would be the largest telescope in Hawaii or the world, and it would also be the largest building on the island of Hawaii in one of its most sensitive conservation districts. In 2015, protectors of Mauna Kea, known as kiaʻi Mauna, were arrested for preventing construction vehicles from going up the summit. In 2018, the Hawaii State Supreme Court ruled in favor of the permit allowing the construction of the project, and construction is planned for June of 2019. As such, today, kiaʻi Mauna are preparing in prayer and other means to once again put their bodies on the line to protect the mountain. Today, I want to talk about patriarchy and colonialism in the context of Western astronomy on Mauna Kea and show how these continue to contribute to the devaluation, dismissal, and misrepresentation of kiaʻi Mauna, the protectors of Mauna Kea. I'll first explain Kanaka Maoli Feminism and its relationship to kiaʻi Mauna, colonialism and patriarchy in Western astronomy, and lastly, misrepresentation, devaluation, and dismissal of kiaʻi Mauna, the protectors of the mountain. Kanaka Maoli translates directly to the true people, the people of the land, and this is a way that indigenous people all over the world have described themselves often. To understand what it is to be Kanaka Maoli, we must first understand aloha aina. Aloha aina is a way of existing of the land, not for the land, not for profit. It is a familial and genealogical relationship, as you can see in the genealogical chant of Mauna Kea that I just shared. It is a reciprocal relationship such that people give to the land and the land cares for the people in return. Central to aloha aina is kuleana. Kuleana is the word that describes both responsibility and privilege, and there are no two distinct words in Hawaiian language. Kiaʻi Mauna recognize a kuleana to care for the mountain, and they fulfill this kuleana. Kanaka Maoli Feminism is rooted in aloha aina and kuleana. It is concerned with patriarchy and colonialism in the context of their relationship to the land, and it is working towards the liberation of a people, Kanaka Maoli, more so than a gender. Kiaʻi Mauna exemplify Kanaka Maoli feminism in many ways, the most evident of which is their representation of Native Hawaiian women voices. The very representation of these voices, which are usually silenced, is in itself resistance to patriarchy and colonialism. The ideology of kiaʻi Mauna also is concerned with patriarchy and colonialism and the harms that they have in their relationship to the land. And lastly, kiaʻi Mauna make direct challenges to colonialism and patriarchy in the context of the 30-meter telescope, as Noi Goodyear Kaopua does in her article. Goodyear Kaopua draws direct connections between domestic violence against women and the relationship between the 30-meter telescope and Western astronomy towards kiaʻi Mauna. Goodyear Kaopua highlights symptoms of these kinds of relationships, one of which would be apologizing for abusive behavior yet continuing to abuse. And Goodyear Kaopua makes clear that this is not a metaphor for the relationship between the 30-meter telescope and kiaʻi Mauna, but it is the very nature of this relationship. Now we need to talk about patriarchy and colonialism in the context of Western astronomy. In 2017, editor-in-chief roles of major mainstream astronomy journals around the world were approximately 5 to 10% women. In 2008, the demographics of American faculty in astronomy were less than 1% Black, less than 1% Latino, approximately 0% Native, with one tenured Native Hawaiian astronomer ever. The structural inequality in Western astronomy is an indicator of the structural patriarchy and colonialism present. But the ideology goes further to show this. The 30-meter telescope corporation has offered and given millions of dollars to support STEM programs in Hawaii. However, this very offer shows the ignorance of what kiaʻi Mauna are really standing for, and it shows the divides between Western ways of knowing and Kanaka Maoli ways of knowing. There's a Hawaiian proverb, "Ua lava mākou I ka pohaku." We are satisfied with the stones. Kiaʻi Mauna, remember, have a kuleana, a responsibility and privilege to care for the mountain, to care for the stones. Kiaʻi Mauna cannot and do not want to accept money in exchange for this. Kanaka Maoli feminism does not leave room for racist, sexist, colonial structures, and as such, institutions that exemplify these make moves to devalue, misrepresent, and dismiss kiaʻi Mauna because of the unsettling future that they present them. The biggest misrepresentation that we see is calling kiaʻi Mauna anti-science. Kiaʻi Mauna have made very explicit that they support science and the advance of these technologies, and apparently these voices are not listened to or taken seriously. Kanaka Maoli have our own complex, rigorous systems of scientific study. However, these have historically and continue to be dismissed. The problem that kiaʻi Mauna find is with the colonial patriarchal structure of Western science and astronomy. Calling kiaʻi Mauna anti-science leads to the devaluation and dismissal of their views. And because Western science represents primarily white men, this maintains patriarchal colonial dominance. This is not a simple issue, but patriarchy and colonial structures of Western science want to make it seem like it is. That kiaʻi Mauna are simply anti-science and ignore the violent structures that continue to inflict abuse upon our people. Before Kanaka Maoli can heal, we first need to remove the abusive structures that continue to inflict violence upon us. Perhaps the greatest tragedy of Western astronomy on Mauna Kea is that astronomers have seen into the universe and seen that we all come from the same cosmic origins, the same stars, and yet we cannot see that we are all of one cosmology, genealogy, of one family. And we continue to inflict violence upon ourselves. I hope that we move towards understanding today. To understand is to recognize that the mountain is not owned by anyone, that the deeds and money and science do not justify building upon our most sacred and vital lands, that Western science does not hold a singular position as the key to the secrets of the universe, that Kanaka Maoli ancestral knowledge expands far beyond what we can currently conceive, that our people and knowledge have been systematically devalued, misrepresented, and dismissed, yet continue to offer an understanding of the universe that we very much need. To understand is to forego all other circumstances and recognize that the telescope cannot be built on Mauna Kea. To understand is to know deeply the dangers of a future where we continue to ignore the voices of indigenous people. We will all cry in reconciliation and celebrate in love the realization that we are all of one family meant to exist of the earth. And all other considerations that seem so important now will fade into the soft blue of the universe like the colors of the rising sun. I need to thank Mauna Kea, the ancestors, descendants, and kiaʻi Mauna that have made it possible for me to stand here today. I could not do this without them. I thank all of you for being in ceremony with me as we move towards healing and understanding. Please share these stories and honor all of our ancestors in doing so. Our world depends on it. Thank you.